What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Springboard Plancha podcast here on a Monday night after Monday Night Raw. We are about 42 days away from WrestleMania 40, and the road to WrestleMania looks a hell of a lot clearer after the events of Saturday's Elimination Chamber and tonight's Monday Night Raw. But there's still a lot of holes, and there's still a couple of holes in the road there, and a couple of things we need to figure out. So we thought we would come on here and just talk about some of those things. Namely, with tonight, Cody Rhodes is still on the road to getting to Roman Reigns and the Universal Championship. But before he gets there, he will be on Friday Night SmackDown to officially challenge The Rock to a one-on-one match before WrestleMania. He also started this conversation during the Grayson Waller effect at Elimination Chamber, where he teased it and he doubled down on it tonight after his match with Grayson Waller. And Paul Heyman came out and tried to tell him, don't do this. You don't want to do this. You don't want this match. You don't want this heat. And Cody Rhodes pretty much destroyed his goons, the Goon Squad, and doubled
Future
down.
wrestlers.
Yeah, the jobbers of the future. There you go. I don't know. Maybe one of those guys will be a star. Who knows? I'll say this though. That jobber that took that crossroads a lot better than Grayson Waller did. Grayson Waller took
Future.
Grayson Waller took that crossroads tonight like ass. It didn't look. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. But that guy that took it, the little small guy, the little small guard, he took that like flat and just and popped up. That was good. But was, he also got a chair shot to the face too. Like he just threw that chair to his face. I was like, oh shit. But those guys got initiated tonight by Cody Rhodes, and he will evidently be challenging The Rock to a one-on-one match that I'm assuming would take place before WrestleMania. That'll be interesting to see how that works out because I did not have Cody Rhodes challenging The Rock to a one-on-one match on a SmackDown on my bingo card for this year. So I'd be interested to see if he accepts, and I'd be interested to see if we get that match. I don't think we will, but I'd be interested to see where they're going with that because they doubled down on it tonight. So I don't know. How do you feel about that, Cheese? How do you feel? Do you want to see The Rock and Cody Rhodes on a random episode of SmackDown?
No, I don't want to see them on a random episode of SmackDown. Hell no. That to me, and I told you guys this earlier, that is a PLE event. Uh, that is uh, that is big money. So you got to do that somewhere. Well, obviously you can't do it at WrestleMania. So maybe you're doing it somewhere after. I have a feeling that we're gonna go into a weird place because this Bloodline story might not end at WrestleMania with The Rock being on the books now, and with Cody kind of even calling his shots of like saying, I want to fight The Rock. Um, I mean, if they do it before WrestleMania on a random episode of SmackDown, it would be a shame. I think, and I think that obviously it probably would end pretty stupidly. Um, I don't think it would be any kind of no significant kind of match for sure, right? They're gonna get a 30-second spot at the end of SmackDown, and it's gonna be two commercials, so they're gonna get a whole 15-minute match in, right? Because there's always commercials at the very end of that main event. So yeah, no, I don't see it happening, right? That's a PLE match, no commercials. It should be big money, in my opinion. I'm gonna aim towards depending on what happens at WrestleMania, they can still do Cody versus The Rock later, right? Because if Cody loses, he can still fight The Rock in a grudge match. If he wins, he can defend the championship against The Rock.
Yeah.
At one of the following pay-per-views, right? So SummerSlam, something like that. Um, so you could potentially have big matches, and I just don't think that there's any reason to. I mean, I really don't think that there's any reason to put The Rock in a match on SmackDown. I just don't think so. I think he would only come back for a big for a big event. Otherwise, why come back at all, right? So,
True.
no, that is my answers. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't want to see it. I do. I want to see Cody and The Rock. Sure, yeah, of course. I mean, who wouldn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially because they're making it. They're building this up to where it's like it looks pretty good, but it's also like a lot of there's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
going around, right? Like there's like Cody versus Roman, Cody versus The Rock. Like I don't know, this story feels like it's getting deeper by the second now with all the moving parts. You got Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre talking about the blood. Everybody's talking about the bloodline. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
True.
you're starting to get that feeling, right? Of the Avengers are starting to assemble, right? Like everybody's getting ready to take down the bloodline with Seth Rollins being Captain America over there. So he's talking about we gotta,
Okay.
what did he say at the way he was when he was exiting the building? He was like, "We got to do it" or something. I don't know. He was saying something like that. So the bloodline, everybody's getting on that page. So, but no,
Yeah.
we
You
shouldn't
know.
we shouldn't see the Rock in any kind of SmackDown event. I don't anticipate we will. I think we'll get another slap before
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania. That's for sure, though.
Yeah. Well, because from here until WrestleMania, I just counted. There's 6 SmackDowns before the first night of WrestleMania on April the 6th. So you got 6 SmackDowns to go before WrestleMania, and The Rock is scheduled to be at the next three, from what I saw on his schedule. He's scheduled to be there on Friday. He's scheduled to be there the following, and then the next one. Um, I could see them doing it just because it would be a cool like main event for us for a SmackDown leading up to WrestleMania. I agree that's probably something you say for like a big time moment, but I would like to see it. What do you think, Mr. Zero? Do you want to see The Rock versus Cody Rhodes before WrestleMania?
Tell you something, Johnny T. This is not gonna happen on no Monday Night Raw, no live event, no SmackDown. This is gonna happen at day one of WrestleMania. Winner gets Roman Reigns. That's how it's gonna play out.
Hmm.
Oh wow, good prediction.
That's
Uh,
my prediction.
sure.
They're gonna go and try to figure it out this Friday and say, hey, I want The Rock, and The Rock's gonna come out and respond and say, you know what, you want me? The winner gets Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. You don't get to dictate, that just because you're the Royal Rumble winner, whatever. I'm The Rock, so I can see how that plays out like that. So it'll be interesting to see.
My only thing about that would be um, what's the point of Seth Rollins in this whole thing then? If you're not going to have any kind of involvement from him um, in that, and then the other thing is, uh, The Rock is full on heel right now, and he's a part of the bloodline. Unless he plans on turning on Roman Reigns in night one, then I don't see why you would put that stipulation up in a one-on-one match for that. I mean, I don't know. That's just me trying to think about where they're trying to go here. I still think we're still doing the tag match. I think that's where we're headed. I think we're headed towards that tag match. They keep kind of teasing the involvement of Seth Rollins. They teased obviously the Cody's involved in this, and then the Rock and Roman and all that fun stuff. Um, I do think that they're gonna do it in one of these SmackDowns leading up to WrestleMania. I think they're gonna go ahead and put the stamp on Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. It sounds weird. It sounds strange, but when was the last time SmackDown had like a really really big main event on the show? Right. I think it was maybe Roman versus what Riddle for the title. That was the last like big time main event on SmackDown. I could be wrong about that, but um, that would be huge. It would bring in ratings. That's for damn sure. But you're onto something Zero where it's like it's not going to end like with a clear cut winner. It's going to be shenanigans. There's going to be things, and maybe it's a good way to get The Rock in some ring time because I'm sure he's rusty as hell. The guy hasn't wrestled a match since what 2016, since 2016, something like that. So it would be a way to kind of
Since
get him to say again.
since he tore his muscle against John Cena.
Yeah, well, actual full on wrestling match because he had that small little like gimmick match against Eric Rowan in 2016, which was like was like a 2 minute match kind of thing. But that was the last time he did anything like in a match, like in his ring gear and stuff like that, right? But even so, that last full on 20-minute match was back in like 2013, and that was 11 years ago. So it's kind of like what you've been preaching to, Cheese, is you haven't seen The Rock wrestle in so long. The first time you're going to see him wrestle in like 13 years or whatever is going to be at WrestleMania at the main event. I think some kind of a warm up might be nice. I don't know. I don't know. They're
I'm sure he's training in the back.
I mean, they're doubling down on this. They teased it on Saturday, and then they doubled down on it tonight. And then I mean on Friday, that's what they're building, right? That's what they're building this as. Cody's going over there on Friday to challenge The Rock to a one-on-one match. Whether or not The Rock accepts that match, I guess we'll see on Friday. But they're doubling down like this is gonna happen. So usually when they do stuff like that, it usually happens one way or another. But I would imagine that if they do go through with it, it's gonna be some kind of like shenanigans kind of thing that's gonna end up the whole thing, and that's where you're gonna get the build for the tag match at that point, right? That's where you're gonna get the okay, well we go from that. Now we're gonna have the tag match. That's how you set up the tag match after that match takes place and it ends in shenanigans and whatnot, right? Because like Seth said tonight, he knows he probably shouldn't be doing it, but sometimes it's the right thing to do. So evidently he's not stepping away from this story with the bloodline. Like he's gonna get involved in one way or another. So um, I guess we'll see how that goes with as far as Cody. It's just kind of crazy. Like we keep talking about it, how we got from Cody giving up his spot to The Rock to now we're talking about The Rock versus Cody on a SmackDown before WrestleMania. Like, how did we even get here? How are we even here at this point? But here we are, and this is what we're talking about. This is what makes WWE so crazy lately, with all this crazy movement and changes and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, hopefully we'll see how that goes. And we're 42 days away from WrestleMania. Things are getting excited. Things are heating up. We have another world title match that's set up. Drew McIntyre solidified his road to WrestleMania. He will be in the World Heavyweight Championship match against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. I'm assuming that'll be a night one or maybe a night two if they're going to do the tag thing on night one. And Drew came out tonight, had a lot of good points, and he continues to be one of the best things on the show. I did like the pseudo pipe bomb thing where he kind of sat down in the ring, but I think Drew's road is pretty clear now, and I enjoyed his performance at the Elimination Chamber. I thought he did very well, and he also didn't care that AJ Styles messed up LA Knight. Didn't care that Logan Paul punched Randy in the face and took a cheese ball win. It don't matter to Drew McIntyre. He'll do whatever he can to get to WrestleMania and take CM Punk's spot. And he's doubling down on his CM Punk stuff too. And I really, 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 really like that, dude. And I'm a CM Punk fan, but like that's good stuff from Drew McIntyre, man. He's one of my favorite things on this show right now. Mr. Zero, I'll bring you in on this one. How you were one of the ones that was very, very, very skeptical of Drew McIntyre's direction and the way he was. At the beginning of the year, you hated everything that Drew McIntyre was doing. Has your mind changed on Drew McIntyre at this point? And do you want him to win the title at WrestleMania? Do you think he should?
Good question, Johnny T. Don't ever address me ever again first. First of all, yes, I do love where Drew McIntyre is going. I love his character. First of all, he's not the same character that he was months ago when he was, crybaby Drew McIntyre right around Survivor Series and all that stuff. No, I love that he's the guy that took CM Punk out and he's not letting nobody forget it. You know, a lot of people could use this against him, like the way they use it against Nia Jax a lot. Like, oh, you like to injure people. Hey, it was a freak accident at the Royal Rumble, but he's running with it. He's like, yeah, I took CM Punk out, and he does this all the time. He does this gesture, and I loved it at the beginning. I knew right away where he was going. He's like, oh, I got injured, and I didn't know if I was gonna be able to make Royal Rumble. I mean WrestleMania, but I'm not like CM Punk. So man, I'm looking forward to when CM Punk comes back, because that's gonna be one heck of a rivalry if Drew can keep the heat going.
Oh yeah, for sure. And what did Drew say to Seth that got like what did he say to him tonight in his promo? I was trying to remember that. Oh geez, like he was saying something about like burning something down and or burning someone's house down and peeing on the and peeing on
Yeah.
what did he say? I can't remember exactly what he said, but it got like
He
a
said,
rise from Pat McAfee. He was like, "Huh? What did he say?" That's the stuff, man. Drew is like he comes off the cuff like with just the funniest things. Sometimes it's not really supposed to be intentionally funny, but it ends up being funny. It's so good. What are your thoughts on all that, Tribal, as far as Drew McIntyre's direction, where he's going? Do you want him to win the title at WrestleMania? And do you think I got a better question for you on this one actually. I think we all know he's probably going to win the title, right? Do you want Drew McIntyre to have a long reign with the title if and when he wins it?
uh, yes. I think I really like the direction. I always said this, and you can go back and look at the film. I always said I don't have a problem with Drew. He always cuts fire promos. I have a problem with his character. His character was Drew Crybaby McIntyre. He was in the quasi heel space, which made me sick. Right? It made me sick. And now I love it. Just like I prayed for this, right? We all prayed for this to happen, right? And he goes backstage and he says, Jey Uso, I just wanted to tell you from the bottom of my heart, you deserve this. Like it's just so good, bro. Like
I forgot
unapologetic, and
about that.
it's
That was
so
good, yeah.
funny. It's so funny because like it's just so fucking mean, right? Like, but
It
you just
is.
gotta love it, dude. Like it's so great that I love that he doesn't care. And I'll tell you one thing. Um, I think WWE is starting to really, really notice. If they haven't already, I'm sure they have taken notice of this a long time ago. And maybe this is why they've had him so involved, heavily involved in even during the Drew McIntyre days, baby crybaby days. But he's very valuable. And I don't think WWE is going to let him walk. I think he's going to get himself a paycheck. I think that they're going to re up his contract. I don't think it has so much to do with the title, is people think it is, but I think Drew's liking what he's doing now. I think he's really enjoying his character. He's really enjoying his work. He knows he's going to be in the main event scene because he's setting up that CM Punk match when he
Mm-hmm.
returns, right? So, and he's not going to let that go, right? So, um, you know, I I think that Drew's character is being renewed, and I think it's really refreshing. Do I think he's going to win? It's hard for me to say no, right? It's because if I think about it, Drew deserves this win, right? And I think Seth called it out today. Like, if the reason politically why he's going to win is because the last time he won his championship, it was in a warehouse with nobody in it, right? So imagine
Yeah.
that, right? You win your WrestleMania moment is
Mm-hmm.
nobody's cheering, right?
Twice.
Or whatever's being
Twice.
piped in.
Twice.
Yeah.
He won it twice in front of
So
nobody.
yeah, so it's being piped in, and it's not the same, right? Everybody knows it's not the same, and even Seth said like, it's not the same. So um, there's a really good chance, and I do think that Drew should hold on to it. Why wouldn't he? He's healthy. He's proven himself to be a workhorse, right? Like he's proven himself to be healthy, to rupture his eardrum and still keep going, and I think that that's admirable. Um, he's young, and I think that he's got to keep going. What's going on? What
No,
did I
no,
miss?
no, no, no. Nothing about you. It was just that I. Oh my God, him coming out and saying I ruptured my eardrum, and my doctor told me I may not make it, but I'm not like CM Punk. I'm gonna. I'm
Yes,
he
yes,
probably
dude.
it's like he probably did not rupture his eardrum, but
Oh, he
it's
did. He
oh did he?
absolutely did.
Oh
It's
he
true.
did?
It's
Oh
a
it
real
is true.
injury. Yeah. He had some complications with it in the back. He actually, I
Oh
think
wow.
somebody kicked him in the ear, and he actually ruptured it over there.
Oh wow. Okay. I know how that
Yeah,
feels. I've had my eardrum ruptured before. It's not a good
it
feeling.
is not a comfortable feeling at
No, it
all.
is not.
Thought I heard he had got injured before the Elimination Chamber match too.
That one I don't know
That one I'm
about.
not
I
sure
do know
about.
that
Yeah.
he sustained an injury in the match though. He
Oh,
took a
okay.
kick to the
Okay.
ear, and I believe it ruptured his eardrum.
Well, either way,
So
it ain't keeping him off of WrestleMania.
it's not keeping him
It's
off
not keeping him
WrestleMania.
away from WrestleMania. Even though
We
the
we gotta
doctor,
love it.
although I will say this, I don't think the doctors told him he wasn't gonna be able to go to WrestleMania.
No, no, not for an eardrum being ruptured, but I mean,
But that's funny
Reese.
how he plays it. That's why I'm saying like, um, he's been the true definition of taking an unfortunate lemon that was presented in the form of CM Punk getting injured and changing that plan and turning it into lemonade at this point
Yep.
because they said, hey, you might be the replacement, but we want you to take this and run with it and turn it into gold. And that's exactly what he's done. We might not. I
Hmm.
mean, as much as we would have all liked to have seen Seth versus CM Punk, I think that could have been a really hot story. What we're getting in place of that, I think, is just as good, just from Drew doing his
Hmm.
thing and how much he's made that whole story matter, regardless of what we think about that title that he's going after. He's making it matter a little bit here,
I
and
think Drew's making this title matter.
that's
Like
what I'm
it's
saying.
kind of
Yeah,
weird to say that, but he's making this title matter because all eyes are on the other stuff, and he's saying, "Hey, I don't give a shit about what's happening in Raw or SmackDown, right? I don't care. The whole that's what he said. He said if SmackDown was burning, I'd go over there and piss
yeah.
on
There
him
he
or something
goes. There
like
he goes.
that.
That's what it was.
So
I'd burn it.
you
If the
gotta
building
love
was
what
burned down,
Drew's doing.
I'd pee on the ashes. I'd pee,
I think he
or
can.
I wouldn't. I
Yeah.
wouldn't pee on it to turn out the. That's what he said. Yeah, I wouldn't. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I think he can be something really special, really big for this company, and you gotta re-sign him. You gotta keep him. He's young. He's healthy. Drew McIntyre is proven. Man, when you stop and think about the shoes he had to fill with CM Punk being out, where he was at the time that he had to fill the shoes,
Mhm.
Yeah,
dude, that is no easy. He wasn't even very over right there, right? So
he
like,
was on a
I
losing
mean,
streak.
he was on a kind of a downwards part.
Excuse me.
So I mean, he really filled in those shoes, and he made what I feel like is very interesting. Like
Hmm.
it's like
Yep.
he's kind of making me interested to see like what's he
Yeah.
gonna do with the world title, right? Like that's I don't
I'll
know.
tell you.
I
I'll
think
tell
it.
you
I
how.
like it.
I, I'll tell you what he's gonna do with the title. He's gonna win at WrestleMania, and he's gonna do this. So he's gonna tell the ref to pick up his hand.
And lift up that title in the air.
He's gonna lift up the title. He's gonna tell the ref,
Oh
raise
man.
my hand, raise my hand. It's gonna be
I,
awesome.
I like that.
I
I
I
like.
love that dude. I
I
love that.
hope I hope so, because if he doesn't, then I really don't know where you're going with him at that point. Like, I think you've built him up so well. I think it's time to make that change for that title, and I think it
Yeah.
makes sense that it's Drew McIntyre now versus months ago, right? I honestly, I think he should have won it. What was it? Day one, or what was it that he challenged for it?
Yeah, we all said that, right?
I think we should. I think he should have won it
Oh
there,
yeah.
and obviously that was because there was a different direction that they were going here. But now you have the chance to kind of rectify that and let him take this ball and roll with it, regardless of what his, like you said, regardless of what his contract status is right now. I think you have to at least give it a shot. And like you said, the big key to this is if he's having fun and he really is enjoying his character development, I don't see a reason why he won't resign. Of course, money always talks, and if you don't feel like you're getting what you're worth, I'm always about going and finding what you're worth. But
Think that matters to Drew right now. I think he's either gonna be in WWE or he's going home, and that's it. I don't think he wants to go for another promotion at this point.
yeah,
I think he got a taste of that the first time he left, and he kind of realized that the grass isn't greener out there. So I think it's this or go home for Drew. I don't think it's I don't think he's really looking at other promotions like that. I think he wants to be here. But he wants to be meaningful.
I believe that. Although, like I said, money like negotiate till the very last day to make sure you get everything you want for the next 3 or 5 years, however long these contracts are in WWE. I mean, I feel like if you're WWE, if you're willing to pay what you pay Dominic Mysterio for the next 5 years, you should be willing to pay Drew McIntyre a little bit more than that. He got a very nice contract out of WWE. So, but I think his contract it has some extra months on there due to time off, injury stuff. So I don't think his contract will expire until towards the end of the year. So we should still be able to get to August and the CM Punk rivalry that we're hoping that we can get maybe around the SummerSlam time. But yeah, I don't see Drew leaving either. I maybe at the tail end of last year, I would have thought, okay, maybe he is just gonna write out his contract and leave because he's directionless, and guys don't like that, right? Typically, superstars don't like being directionless,
Yes.
and so if that's what they're gonna be, then why resign? Why put up with this for another 5 years, right? Just go do
Yeah.
something else. But it's changed, so maybe yeah, maybe when they get back to that negotiating table, maybe they'll come up with something different there. But I'm looking forward to see what happens with him. I really do hope that he wins the title and that he continues this awesome run that he's on. Someone that I thought might be on that road with him because we were trying to figure it out. I think is on a different path, but Sami Zayn's path to WrestleMania was made
Oh God.
just a tiny bit clearer. Uh, that's what we were all kind of asking. Where does Sammy go from here? Like, where do we think Sammy goes? Because he was one of those guys that had such a hot story last year, and it culminated in that very awesome main event of night one of last year, and that's where everything kind of peaked. And I wish the tag team run with him and KO would have been a little better, but it is what it is. We're past it. But a year later, Sami Zayn has very little direction going into WrestleMania. He wasn't at Elimination Chamber. He's been on a little bit of a losing streak until tonight. He beats Shinsuke Nakamura to finally get that monkey off of his back, right? And it was teased that he's now a part of this huge like multi-man kind of contender spot for the Intercontinental Championship. I know you have opinions on this, Mr. Zero, so I'm gonna go ahead and just let you start. I know you don't like going first, but I'm gonna let you start because you had opinions on this in the chat.
Yeah. Let him
You,
mess up first, and
you
then we'll
had
clean it up.
you had opinions on the chat, but you do not want to see Sami Zayn in any way involved in the Gunther storyline, huh?
Care to see Sami Zayn in the story. He's like we all said right now. He hasn't won. He's been on a big losing streak, and all of a sudden WrestleMania's coming up, and no, now I'm gonna win. It's too late, bro. It's too late. Should have won. You know, you should have started your winning streak during Survivor Series or something. Or at least been a little more consistent. And you had a leg injury where it looked like Drew broke your leg, and then you came back 2 weeks later, um, and lost again. I think he lost again after he came back. So as far as the Intercontinental Championship, I'd rather see Dominic Mysterio over Sami Zayn.
Okay, okay. I just realized something, and hopefully, and I'm wondering if this is maybe affecting our feed tonight, guys. I'm doing this live. I'm pointing out a mistake of mine right now. I titled this live stream "Elimination Chamber" and Monday Night Raw 2023. It is 2024. We are. we
Fucking
are
amateur hour.
we are in the second,
Good.
almost in the third month of
Can
2024.
you fix this? Can you fix this title? Yes, you can fix it, right?
I don't think I can fix it as it's going. I'd have to stop.
So afterwards, right?
I'd have to stop the stream and edit the title. I don't think I can edit the title.
Somebody's literally gonna jump into the live stream and be like 2024, dumbass,
Like,
and leave.
That's it.
That's all they're gonna do, like they did
Oh,
to the short that I did,
we're having
just
fun.
to correct the
We're
one spelling
we're having
error
fun.
that I
We're
had.
having fun here. Yeah, I just saw that. I was like, oh wait, it's not 2023. It's 2024.
Yeah, it's not
Jeez.
2023. It's 2024.
It's
Sami Zayn had
2024.
a good run in 2023. 2024 is
There we go.
crap.
Bringing it back. Bringing it back. What about
That's
you?
why.
All right, let's. I mean, we're just gonna have to roll with it. But what do you think, Cheese? What do you,
It's
do
too
you,
late now, baby.
yeah. Do you think this is a good path for Sami Zayn? And let's just go off of that too and say, what do you want to see out of the Intercontinental Championship story? Since we're obviously not getting Gunther versus Brock. What do you think should happen at WrestleMania with the Intercontinental title?
Okay, to answer your first question,
Mm-hmm.
the only reason that this is happening is because they got to get Sammy somehow involved. When we talked about paths to WrestleMania, I didn't mean like he's gonna win anything. It's just a matter of like what program is he gonna run, what match is he gonna be involved in, right? Because when you have healthy superstars that are for better or for worse as big as Sami Zayn is,
Mm-hmm.
you got to get him in a match. You got to get him in something, right? He's healthy, and he's still a fan favorite. People will still cheer for him, and get him out there. He's a performer, right? It's kind of like Shinsuke, right? Like you get him out there because they're your bet. They're good wrestlers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will never say that Sami Zayn is not a good wrestler. And it doesn't even come down to wins and losses. Truly, it doesn't. What it comes down to is your material, right? What it comes down to is your character. What it comes down to is your entertainment. Because when Sami Zayn was hot, he wasn't winning shit. He was just funny as hell. And he was just blowing up because he was so funny within the bloodline. And, you know, now he's back to his serious, like, I gotta do something to get there. I gotta break the winning. No, you don't have to break the losing streak, bro. You just gotta say something and do something that we love. That's all you gotta do, right? Like you gotta make what is it? Orange juice out of lemons or whatever the fuck saying we talked about earlier. I don't know what the fuck the saying was. But you gotta do something, man. You gotta make the best of a bad situation, right? And I think that that's something like Drew's figured out how to do. And now we got Sammy Crybaby, right? Like the Sammy Crybaby. So we don't want this character for him. He's gonna that character is not gonna get him nowhere. If you're doing the try hard mentality, it ain't gonna get you nowhere. So you absolutely have to. He's got to figure himself out. Um, I don't know. He's not gonna win anything at WrestleMania. As far as him, I'm cool with him being involved in the Gunther storyline. I'm okay with it because I know he's not gonna win, and I have a really big feeling that it's going to be not a one-on-one match by any stretch of the imagination. I do believe it's going to be a multi-man match for Gunther, because you gotta have some multi-man matches at WrestleMania because you cannot do everything one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not gonna have enough
Mm-hmm.
time over those 2 nights to do. Otherwise, you're gonna leave a ton of wrestlers off the match, right? Or you're gonna throw Sami Zayn in the battle royal because you're gonna just say, well, we got to get you involved somehow, some way, right? So
Yeah.
I truly think that we have Sammy who's been teased, we have Dom who's been teased, and then I believe we had Chad Gable teased, which
Yeah.
I'm cool with too because we could have like we talked about a six-way ladder match
Yeah.
or some kind of some kind of match, right? Any kind of match. Uh, that's 6 ways. So
Yeah.
I think it's totally worth it. It's totally justifiable to put Sammy in there. I'm thinking maybe Shinsuke might be in that same match
Mm-hmm.
as well. Um, and I think Gunter's going to retain. I think at the end of the
Yeah.
day, I wouldn't mind seeing Dominic Mysterio win it, but I do think Gunther will retain. I don't think that they're going to put Dom over Gunther. Um, crazier things have happened, but
Yeah.
I do imagine that Gunther will retain. I don't think they know who's gonna take the belt from Gunther and carry it like he does. So Gunther was right. I wouldn't call it the most prestigious belt by any stretch of the imagination because he's never beaten anybody, that well. I guess you could call Sheamus or somebody like a true contender, but um, I don't think that Gunther plays in the big boy leagues. I don't think his belt is that prestigious when you're beating the Miz for your title defenses. Uh, but I will say that people care about it because the streak is so long, right? And
Oh
and
yeah.
he's been so dominant for so long.
You're
So I care about who takes
Yeah.
that title away from him. I do care about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that those guys are all mid carders, right? Like those guys are not. He's not punching up. He's punching down. So, uh, yeah. Though that's where I think it's gonna go. I'm curious to see who's gonna round out the rest of that
Yeah.
pool. Will Uso be in that picture, or is he got to take care of some business with his brother? So that might be somebody
I don't.
left off.
I don't think Mr. Jey Uso will be winning any titles as long as his brother is around, because that's 3 times. That's 3 times that Jimmy Uso has caused his brother to not win a championship. Uh, Jay's had 3 opportunities to win a championship and has lost uh, most most of them. Actually, no, he won the tag team titles, but then he cost them the titles when he interfered, and that's how they lost them. Didn't get the world title because that's how we all started this, and then didn't get the intercontinental title because then you get another super kick to the face. Um, so I don't know
We
if he
can mark Jay down for the Avenger Squad.
for the Avengers
Mhm.
squad, yeah. Um,
And they didn't build his story tonight. I'm sorry, but that's kind of weird. They didn't build his story, his rivalry with his brother at all tonight. So
well,
it was
the
Drew
good,
McIntyre stepped into that
yeah,
spot. It was weird.
the good thing is that we got 6 shows to figure this all out, so they can still get there. I think they can still get there one way or another. I think that's where we're headed though with Jay. I think he's headed. You have to, right? You don't do what you did last week and expect that's not going to be the direction that you're going for now at this point. It's just how we get there. I guess we'll find out in the next couple of weeks whether that happens on SmackDown or it happens on Raw. I guess we'll find out here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But as far as the Intercontinental Championship is concerned, I'm gonna steal something from you, Mister Zero, Mister Tribal Cheese, and I'm gonna steal something from you, and I'm gonna say how long is usually each night of WrestleMania? A week, about 2.5 hours, right? 2.5, 3 hours
Each
per each
night,
night, right?
I'm gonna say it's like 3 to 4 each night.
Well, yeah.
Each night,
Either way,
they're long as
we
hell.
got a lot of time, right? I think, and I'm with you on this. I don't think it's gonna happen, but it would actually be kind of cool. I think you can fit 25 minutes in and bring the Iron Survivor match to the main roster.
Okay, okay, yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah, that would be great.
25 minutes is all you need for that match. I think that you can do that for the Intercontinental Championship. You can have an Iron Survivor match for that one.
Mr. Zero looks a little confused, so go ahead and explain the Iron Survivor match to him.
Whoo, okay, I got to take a deep breath for this because there's a lot of rules to this one, Mr. Zero, but I'm going to make it as simple as I can. The Iron Survivor has only been done in NXT. It's not been done on the main roster. And what it is you can have usually these matches are consisted of at least 6 superstars. You have a 25-minute time on the clock. Basically, it's like an Iron Man match. The one with the most falls at the end of the match wins the match after the 25 minutes is over. But here's the caveat to this: if you get pinned for a fall, you then have to go into the penalty box for 5 minutes, or I think it's 3 minutes actually.
It's like three. I think
It's
it's
like
like
three
three.
minutes. So if you get pinned, you can't compete in the match for 3 minutes. You have to stay in the box, and that happens every single time. If you take the falls, you have to go into that box for 3 minutes. But after those 25 minutes are over, whoever has the most falls is the winner of that match. And the last
Mhm.
one we saw was a couple of months ago on the NXT PLE, where Trick Williams came back from, what was he down? He was down like four falls.
Yeah, he
What
came back
in the
in
last
the
like
last 30
in the last like
seconds.
2.5 minutes, the
Two and
last
a half
like 90
minutes. Yeah,
seconds, the last 90 seconds, and it was a
he
very
literally got his last pin with the seconds left on the clock. So
it's an interesting, it's a new concept. It's a concept that it fits for the NXT brand, but I think given the right cast of characters, you could make it work on the main roster. And why not debut it on the main roster on the biggest PLE of the year, right? Because if not, you're just gonna end up having like a fatal 4-way match or something like that for the Intercontinental Championship. And I don't want to see Gunther in a ladder match. I don't think that fits him very well.
no, it doesn't really work
Um,
too well.
I don't want to see
No,
him in a
fits
ladder
Logan Paul
match.
better.
That's
I
where I
think
think
everybody
that
can
one would
show
be.
out too. Everybody
but
can show out too because they could all score a pin, right? So you can get a Kinshasa,
yeah,
you can get a Luva kick, you can get Dom stealing a pin.
and
Like
and,
it
and then
starts making the match really interesting.
yeah, and then like you said, the field for the Intercontinental Championship contenders, like we just added like three different people in one night to that list. You know, you said, and I mean, you might as well add Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio, and even though Damian Priest is, I think he's destined for the tag team match. But either way, you know, you have all those names, and you also have a Bronson Reed who was also on the phone with with Adam Pierce. That's also could be a part of the mix too. So you can
Hmm.
easily have six people going after this. Um, and so then what do you do with that? Do you just do like a free for all match that way, and just the first person that gets a fall wins, or do you do a concept? Do you bring out a concept like that and make it fun? Right? I think you could do something really really cool with that. Or
Hmm.
do you just have all those guys compete for the number one contendership, and it's just a one on one match? And like you said, all the rest of those guys that lost, well, you get to go into Andre the
You get
Giant.
the night
You
off.
get to, you get to go into Andre the Giant battle royal. If they even still do that thing, I don't even know. Oh, they did. They did it last year.
They still do it.
They didn't even do it at WrestleMania. They did it on SmackDown last year.
That's right. They didn't have time for it.
No, they put it on the night before on SmackDown.
Yeah,
And
they've been
that's
putting it on the kickoff show for years before that, and
and
now
now they put
and
it on
now they put
SmackDown.
moved it all the way to SmackDown. So
Bobby Lashley didn't even get a WrestleMania match last year because he got put on that
nope.
SmackDown Battle Royal. That was sad, but that's where you could be headed if you decide to do the have only one person out of this group of people get to that. If you're asking me, who if it's only one of those guys, personally, as much as I like Sami Zayn, I think Chad Gable has the better story. He kind of sold me a little bit more again on his talk with Adam Pierce. I was like, ooh, that's the first time he ever mentioned about his daughter crying in that video. He didn't even mention anything after all that. This was a serious Chad Gable. This wasn't the thank you. You know, this was a very serious. He was in a suit and tie. I mean, he was very serious about this, and I was like, oh, okay, I can get down with that, Chad Gable. I can get down with that match one more time, but I think multi man is the way to go. I think we're all onto something there. I think we're all onto something there. So,
Hmm.
another thing I want to get, one more thing I want to get into before we end this live stream, and I think we need to talk about it. And I thought we would spend a good amount of time on it. Is it's official, as I think most of us, well, at least I predicted, you predicted, not Mr. Zero. Mr. Zero had some outlandish predictions, which, by the way, I don't know when it's gonna happen, but it's gonna come soon. He's gonna get a nice,
Gonna get a
nice fucking chop to his chest. I've been training. I've been putting in the work. You know, I've been like working on it.
Them little fucking spaghetti arms.
Hey, it don't matter, man. If I come at it with the right amount of speed, man, it'll be real nice on your fucking fat chest.
it's gonna take a patch of your chest hairs off.
I'll make sure to hit you right here in the heart, dude. I want you to feel it.
You're gonna hit me, and your chest is gonna cave in like Kobe Kingston.
I'm gonna give you a cross between a Chris Jericho and Kofi Kingston chest by the time we're done.
Where were you going with this?
But
Where were you going
but-
with this?
but-
I don't even know. You didn't even tell us where you're going with
No,
this.
I got sidetracked because I got really excited because that's coming up soon. That'll be in a separate video here at some point. But yes, I Tribal Cheese had the top predictions of the night the other night. I came in second and Mr. Zero came in last. But me and Mr. Zero had the the competition of me versus him, and I won. But that leads to the where we're at now. The women's title, the world title match on the women's side is set. It's going to be Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley won her match at Elimination Chamber as well, and we got the first in ring promo for this. What did you think, Tribal Cheese, of this promo? I just real quickly from my end, I'm just like, man, I think we need a little bit more think we need a little bit more logs on this fire because I wasn't really feeling this first promo. How did you feel about it?
It felt like the last five of Becky's promos. I think they're weak. I think that they're just, very tame. They're just not very good. They haven't been very good for a while. it I don't know what's wrong with it. Maybe it's because she's a face. I don't know what's going on, but it's just not. It just doesn't work for me. I don't like the angle that they
Mm-hmm.
pushed, and I told you that over the phone. I didn't like how they got political with it versus like you know men are the ones that are X Y Z and the women, and I'm like, oh my god, like we don't gotta shit on the men, and we don't need to make this a man versus woman thing, right? I know you think you're the man, but mommy's always on top. I think that's why they tried to go with it, but it was just weird, man. I didn't like it. Even the crowd wasn't resonating with it. It was kind of booing, so it fell flat. Um, I'm not excited for Becky versus Rhea, and I haven't been. And I think it's just because Becky hasn't, outside of her win at Elimination Chamber, where she didn't even look the best. She didn't even look like the best contender in Elimination Chamber. She
Who
just looked
did?
very fortunate. I thought Tiffany Stratton looked probably the best, and I thought Liv Morgan also looked extremely good. And I'll tell you where I want to go with this, just to sum this up real quick, so I could throw it to you, Zero. I don't want a one-on-one match with Becky, and I think Becky's earned a shot, but I don't want a one-on-one match with Becky and Rhea. I want a fatal four-way with Becky, Nia Jax, Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley. I want a fatal four-way. It would be the only one that's on the card, but I want Liv Morgan in that match because I feel like she deserves it. I feel like I, how many times has she been this close to winning something big, right? And I mean, if you watch the girl, she shows out in the ring. I think I think people would go crazy if she won at Royal at WrestleMania, even though I do think that Mommy will come out on top, like the way she says she will. But I think like Nia Jax has proven that she's a fucking main eventer. After Elimination Chamber, I was thoroughly impressed with the work that she did. She knows how to work the crowd. She knows how to pace herself. Maybe she's taking some lessons from her cousins over in the bloodline, but she's definitely impressed. And like I said, Liv Morgan impressed, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Tiffany Stratton reach into this main event scene at some point in time. I know she's a little young right now, but um, yeah, I'm not excited for Becky versus Rhea. Not yet. I mean, I just we've seen Becky in a lot of main events at WrestleMania, and I'm not gonna lie and say she doesn't have tenure, but I'm just the way she's been built over the last few months, I'm not excited. I don't take her as a serious contender. And I think that's why Nia Jax made the point that she did tonight was, it shouldn't be you, it should be me. Because Becky didn't even beat Nia, right? So I don't know. I don't know where you guys want to go with that, but that's my prediction. That's my prediction, but that's my more my ask is I want a fatal four way. I want Liv Morgan, I want Nia Jax, and I want Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. I think that the four of them have such contrasting styles that it would be an amazing show together.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Zero, you've been getting close
I
to your
know, I
mic.
know whose turn it is. I know whose turn it is. You sit back, relax, and put your bib on.
There he is.
It's gonna get exciting.
There
Let
he
me tell
is.
you something.
Put
Let
a
me tell
little,
you something.
put a little sauce on that barbecue.
I can see exactly what the tribal cheese is preaching right now. You know, Becky Lynch came in this week and ruined Liv Morgan's match with Nia Jax, and Liv Morgan had something to say about it. Well, next week, guess what? We got Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax, and guess who's gonna interrupt that
Mm,
match? Guess who's gonna interrupt that
yes.
match? Liv Morgan. So
Yes.
it's gonna end up being a big thing that's gonna build up, and I can see this being a fatal four way for for Rhea's championship. And man, I don't see Rhea retaining this year. I think the peak of her title reign was in Australia in front of her home crowd. You know, and then you know like the cheese said, I would like to see Liv Morgan win the title. She's been, second best every single time since last year's Royal Rumble. You
Mm-hmm.
know, she was inches away, and Rhea ended up taking it from her, and pretty much stole her storyline since
Hmm.
then. You know what I mean? Since then, Liv Morgan's been second best. Mommy's been on top, and man, what a main event, or what a WrestleMania moment that would be to see Liv Morgan, because like you said, Becky Lynch has no build-up. She's lost. She had one big win in the Elimination Chamber, and like you said, she didn't even look like she didn't even establish that she deserved to be at the top. Yeah, a big L, a big L.
Let me ask you a question. I gotta ask you guys a question, honestly.
Ooh, ask me a question
Can
for
you
a
guys
change.
think? Yeah, can you guys think of a match recently where you've been thoroughly impressed by Becky Lynch's work? Because I haven't.
I've
I
been
can't
really
remember a
impressed with
match
her
where I've
promos.
been extremely. I haven't been impressed with her promos, but can you think of a match where you're just like, damn, that was a banger? Because I don't even think like her match last year in WrestleMania was with was it Bianca Belair last year
Hmm.
that she had a match with, and outside of Bianca showing out and her looking like the Green Goblin because she wore some god awful ring attire. She looked pretty weak there too. I thought so. I actually haven't seen
Oh,
when
okay,
we think
okay,
about
okay,
her matches. I
okay.
haven't
I,
really
I
seen that
have
many that have been
I
great.
have a counter attack to that one. Um, she was her. Now this is probably why y'all probably didn't see it, probably didn't watch it, but her match with Tiffany Stratton at the NXT pay per view was fan fucking tastic. Both of
But
those
was that
girls
because
showed.
of Becky Lynch or
No,
Tiffany
that was because
Stratton?
of both of them, you motherfucker. You should go fucking watch
Mm.
that match. Sorry to
Mm.
call you out like that, but but I'll say this on the main roster, I can't think of one off the top of my head. On the main
The reason
roster,
I
I can't think of it off the top of my head other than the match last year with Bianca, which her and Bianca put together good matches. That was a good match. I enjoyed it.
What
I
does
thought they
Becky
both
do
showed
that's
out.
super exciting to watch? Because that's my thing. Because like Bianca does some really cool, crazy shit. Tiffany
Hmm.
Stratton does some really cool. Liv does some really cool shit. And hell, even
Uh,
Nia Jax, she really plays to her strengths of like her. She's a big, strong girl. And Rhea Ripley, same thing, right? But when I think about Becky Lynch, she's relatively safe. Um, when she wrestles, she
mhm.
doesn't really she doesn't really have when you think about it outside of the disarmor and the Becky manhandle jam slam, the Becky jam slam, you know what I mean? Like what does
Yeah.
she have that is so great to watch? I can't even think of her signature moves off the top of my head. Like I really can't. It's not that great.
I think up until last year, Becky Lynch had a lot of momentum just because she was maybe constantly, adding things to her repertoire. But she's just kind of been stagnant since last year. You know what I mean? She hasn't really had that big pop. She's missing something to her game. Um, I think she had her biggest. I think well, she had her biggest year when she became the man, but
Oh,
um
um.
she
Ooh.
hasn't evolved that
Uh,
character or constantly changed
true.
her character to make herself
Okay.
stand out, and I think that's why she's become real stagnant, and that's what's kind of killed her momentum.
Yeah.
She's all outfits at this point.
The thing is that Becky Lynch is more. She's very traditional. She doesn't have a lot of flash. She doesn't have a lot of. I mean, she's not a heavy. She's not a high flyer. She's more traditional, kind of classic style wrestling kind of thing. So,
She botched that with
so I get
Naomi
it.
at Elimination
Um,
Chamber.
and then, well, that's another person like Naomi. Where do you go with her? But anyways, I forgot too. That's what I was trying to think. I was like, I know there was one more match that she had last year that was actually really good. Her and Trish, in Hell in a Cell or whatever it was, or in was it Hell in a Cell or the cage match? It was the cage match. Um, that was actually pretty good. That was actually a really good match between those two. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I tell you what. Sometimes it's all about who you're paired with, right? You can bring the
Yep.
best out of each other sometimes, but if the pairing doesn't work, then it doesn't look right or it looks weak. Or it just does. But they did kind of float with Becky for those couple of months when she was having that rivalry with Trish and Zoe Stark and whatnot. They just kind of floated her around, and I think you're onto something there, Zero, as far as like that during that time her popularity kind of fell a little bit, and actually the Bianca and Becky was the previous year, was 2023 or 2022. 2023 she was in the tag match with Lita. They won the tag titles, remember? At WrestleMania.
Mm.
Um,
Another match I don't care about. The P bag match.
I don't know about that, but but yeah, but anyways, like yeah, so so she's just kind of been teetering for a while, but they've been trying their best to build her up to get her ready for this, but in the process of doing that, they've built a monster with Rhea Ripley that's just
Oh yeah,
levels above everybody else. I think we can all agree on that.
yeah,
She's
and,
levels
and that
above everybody
yeah,
else.
and that's another reason I don't think Rhea particularly needs the championship. She's in that quasi heel space where I mean technically she's a heel right now, and the crowd freaking loves her. You know, they go from absolutely the booing Dom out of the
Mm-hmm.
stadium to as soon as he introduces her, they freaking go from a loud boo to a loud roar. You know what I mean? Like everybody loves her. You know,
That's
it don't
that.
matter if
Yeah,
she's a good guy, bad guy. You know, it doesn't matter right now. So
yeah.
you know,
Have you been noticing that they've been keeping her away from like the Judgment Day like altogether? That's by design because if you put her there with them, they're gonna cheer. They're gonna cheer for them. They don't want people to cheer for the Judgment Day, but it's hard when everyone is uh, behind Rhea Ripley. So what did they do tonight? Because you can't have just Rhea Ripley and Becky in the ring because people the cheers are gonna outweigh the cheers over here, and that's not what you want, right? So you put Dom in there to kind of diffuse that a little bit to kind of make people boo on that side of things. And so because I mean he other than tonight, I can't remember the last time they both came out together. They've been keeping them apart by design because she's got such a big following now. Um, she's really like the Stone Cold Steve Austin of the women's division right now, which at one time it was believed that Becky Lynch was getting to that point. So that's another thing that makes this potential match here interesting in that respect that she's Rhea Ripley's taken that spot and she's running with it. But this is where I agree with y'all. If this is how you're going to play it based on this one promo, we still got 6 shows here, but I don't know if this one-on-one match is going to work. I don't think you have enough
mm,
heat. I don't think you have enough
It's a waste.
fire in that if you're going to keep doing it this way. Because you have Rhea Ripley that's really, really hot, and you have Becky that's resting on her laurels. It's fine for other programs that you have her with, but this is supposed to be a really really big deal. You can't have Becky Lynch coming in doing just basic Becky Lynch stuff. You have to tell her to elevate as high as she can go if this is going to be a one-on-one thing. But I don't, based on what we saw tonight, like y'all were saying, I don't think it is.
yeah,
Nia Jax is
and,
clearly still like a
yeah,
big part of this. Um,
And Liv
and
is
Liv
getting tied
Morgan
up into it.
is also a part of it. There was no winner. There was no real winner or loser of that match tonight, right? Because Becky
Hmm.
interfered, and if you saw the look, like you said, on Liv's face after the match, she did not look happy with Becky
And
interfering
she told her stuff
in her match. She
afterwards.
just tell her stuff afterwards too. So I mean, you got to have both of those people, and I'm gonna give, which I have before in the past, but I'm gonna do it again, and I'm gonna give Liv her flowers. Ever since she's come back, dude, she's been on fire, man. It's like she used that time off.
She's great in the ring.
She used her time off, to have a little fun on the side, but also, she had a little fun on the side during her time off, but also, you evidently took it to heart that she was going to come back on a whole nother level, and she's elevated her game because she was stuck in that tag team division for a little while before she took the time off, and she was one of those people that were just kind of floating. And I didn't like that for her because I feel like she has a lot more to offer. And they're showing she's showing out now, and it's very very deserving. Her in ring work over the past, I don't know how y'all feel about this, but I feel like even her in ring work in these last couple of matches has been fantastic. The Oblivion actually looks like a good move now. I don't know what they tweaked about it or what they decided to fix with it, but it actually looks really nice. She's got one, like you said, Tribal Chief, I think in the chat. She's got one of the cleanest looking code breakers in the game. She makes it look really
Mm-hmm.
nice. The top rope one from tonight looked really good. Um, she's a lot more crisp than what she had been in the past. So that's why I think,
Mhm.
and then her character work too. Just her character work is a lot better. So it's great. Like she deserves something at WrestleMania. She doesn't deserve to be in like an on a women's battle royal kind of match, or she doesn't deserve to be in a throwaway tag team match or anything like that. She deserves to be in, I think, the women's title match. Um,
Yep.
and I think y'all guys are onto something. I think a fatal four way is the way to go here with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, why have Naya and Liv still involved in this at this point, right?
Hmm.
Otherwise, just make
Yeah.
this Becky and her, and then that's it. Nobody else is involved. But clearly, that's
Like
not
I said,
what they're
man,
going for.
tribal cheese shoots 1,000 for 1,000. It's gonna happen. Your fatal four way.
You shot a little off on Elimination Chamber. You're like 900 out of 1,000, but
I was 9 out of 1,000. Yeah, pretty close.
900 out of a
I
thousand,
didn't.
nine out
I
of a
didn't. I
thousand is
didn't
pretty
count on
bad.
Raquel's face getting blown up, and then them having to make adjustments on the fly.
Oh,
I,
that's
I did
I feel
I
so
did
bad
call
for her,
out
man.
I did call out AJ Styles interfering
You
with
did,
the match.
and it
You
happened.
did call that
You
out.
did. It happened, and that's a whole nother story. Apparently, we're on the direction of Randy Orton versus Logan Paul and AJ Styles versus LA Knight.
Oh God,
If that's the direction that
gosh.
we're going for, I don't know about that. But
In what
jeez.
could be Randy Orton's last match at WrestleMania.
I wanna say this. I wanna say this about
It
Randy
was a
Orton.
work, man.
I wanna say this about Randy Orton real quick. It's one of two things. Either Randy really is fucking like hurt at this point, and it just sucks to see if he really is, or he's just a great salesman, bro.
He's not a great salesman, bro.
I don't
He's
know,
just
dude.
a
I
great
saw him
It
in
was the
12.
fakest looking injury I've seen.
I saw
the
him in
fake
12 rounds, man, and his acting was not that good.
Yeah,
12
dude.
rounds. Oh man, wasn't he one of the Marine movies too, or something like that? I don't know,
Yeah.
probably.
No, he couldn't do the Marine because he was dishonorably discharged or something. He went AWOL, so they didn't
Oh
let him
God.
do that
He
for
was.
real.
It's actually a true story. Randy Orton did go.
Yeah.
That's Randy did join the military and did it and went AWOL.
But anyway, getting
Damn.
back to the women's match, I believe that the best thing to do is make it a fatal four way because right now where they're headed with Rhea and Becky, it just kind of kills Rhea's steam, and you don't want to do that. You know what I mean? At least give her an excuse like, "Hey, I lost it because of not a one on one match," and then you can have your little rivalry with Liv or whoever wins. Shooting it, even Nia Jax could be a pretty good champ for a while.
give
Hmm.
me,
Not long
yeah,
term, but a short term champ. That'd be good.
Yeah.
give me Liv Morgan getting her just
So,
due.
yep.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
had
it was a
she
shame.
yeah
It's
she's
a shame, man. Like,
mhm.
th- a lot of these women should be champions, and there's just not as much room because there's only two belts. And we discussed this over the weekend, which was the women need to have more belts. The men have four singles belts, right? And the women only have two. And I think we need a few more belts because we have a stacked roster now. Like, how can if
Hmm.
you're gonna have Rhea Ripley hold that belt for 2 or 3 years? How when are all these other women gonna make names for themselves? Like they're
Yep.
not, right? And in the past, the men have done it usually with a lower belt first, and then they move on to the higher belt, right? Like so, they get an intercontinental championship, and then eventually they move on to the world heavyweight or
Mm-hmm.
something. So
Hmm.
you just don't have that on the women's side. And if Rhea does in fact continue to this reign, which I really do believe she will because she's selling out, man. She's the hottest thing out there. You yourself just talked about how the pop is amazing for her. I understand you want to give the belt to Liv Morgan, right? I understand you want to give the belt to Nia. I understand you want to give the belt to Raquel at some point. But you're never gonna get to because you only got two freaking belts, and the one you're gonna give to Bailey. So the other one is gonna probably stay with Rhea for a while, and these girls are just gonna never get a chance to get any
Yeah,
gold. It's just a
for real.
shame.
It is, and this is a problem though that WWE's kind of created a little bit. is that they do make these. I mean, it's fine, right? You want to make the championships important, right? You want to make them feel like the most important thing that everyone wants to go after. But there
Hmm.
was a time where the you had it where the titles were important, but you also had a lot of stories that were great without titles. But you're not doing that anymore because everybody in the women's division is chasing a title. So now you got to make it that way. Now you have to. Now you can't have a story that doesn't need a title. You understand what I'm saying? Because you have
Hmm.
all these women chasing it. Well, now you got to make them involved in it now, or else their other stories are pointless. That's a problem that you have created. You didn't have to do it that way. You could have had it where you could have these people have stories without titles and make it still matter, but that's not what you did. So now you got to, this is the only way you can fix it.
Yeah, we're in a spot now where the roster is so stacked with talent, and you got even more on NXT because if you go and see some of the girls on
Mm-hmm.
NXT, you got even more coming down the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
You just brought Naomi back. You got a lot of girls that can be singles competitors, and I think it's time for
Now,
WWE to really consider adding
yeah,
new belts to the women's
and
division specifically for this
yeah.
problem because if not you're going to have 30 serious competitors and you're only going to have two champs and that's just like you said everybody chasing the carrot is not going to it's not going to work out well. Like how do you get Tiffany Stratton up to the point where she can go beyond Bianca Belair? You know what I mean? Like, how do you get these girls into that? Bianca doesn't even have a belt right now, right? And we probably all know that eventually she's gonna make her way back into that space, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how does Naomi? How does Naomi ever get a belt, right? Like, how does this happen? Shit, Jay Uso can barely get a belt. He hasn't had one, right? Like, the dude is probably one of the best wrestlers on the roster, and he
now,
just can't get a belt. So
now the good news
it's
about
the
him,
worst problem for the women.
yeah, the good news about him is that he has a story separate of that. But that's what I'm saying. But because you made a lot of these stories very linear, you can't branch out and have these other stories then. And you can't make the and it's now you're at a point where you're 5 weeks away from the big show. Now it'd be kind of hard to make these separate stories and make them believable. You know what I mean? I mean, you'll probably get. I mean, every match at WrestleMania is not going to be a title match. There's no way you can do that. So you're going to have some matches that are not going to be title matches. So how do you make those matches matter? How do you make me want to care about if this match is not for a title? Then I'm watching it for a story, right? Well, what story are you telling me? Because as far as I'm concerned, all the women are chasing titles. How do you
Mhm.
separate them from that and give them individual stories that are going to make me care about their story? If you can build something where you make me care about Bianca Belair versus Tiffany Stratton and give me a story like that, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying if you built that, then okay, maybe I'll be interested in that. But as far as I know, as of Saturday, they were chasing titles,
Mhm.
and the men's side actually did a better side of possibly creating some storylines after the fact than the women's did, in my opinion. Other than Liv Morgan, um, I don't know, like
It's extremely difficult to do what you're talking about for a PLE like WrestleMania, because in order to do something like that, you need a really big star with the decent storyline. So like Stone Cold coming back, for instance, he doesn't
well,
need to fight for a title. He just needs to
yeah,
fight, right? So like you can do it, but like you
yeah.
could have did it with The Rock. You could have done it with The Rock, right? And we still might. We don't even know what's gonna happen, but ultimately everything is going to revolve around the titles for WrestleMania unless because nobody's big enough yet. Nobody's on that level because you got to get titles to legitimize them, right? Because now Charlotte could come back and probably do a program, some kind of grudge match with somebody because she's that big. But outside of that, if those superstars are not that big, nobody's gonna really want to have
Hmm.
just a grudge match, right?
Yeah.
You could do it with Trish because Trish and Lita are big names. They're
Hmm.
veterans and stuff. So yeah, it's a little bit difficult to do that at big events like that. I
At
don't think
this,
anybody's
yeah.
gonna tune in for a Sami Zayn Shinsuke grudge match. Like you just don't, maybe
No,
you just
no,
don't want to.
no,
It's gonna be a good match,
no,
but you
no,
don't want
yeah.
to see it.
At this point, no. You would have had to develop those stories weeks ago to make you care for that story going into WrestleMania without a belt, right? But you haven't done
Nope.
that. You haven't done that at all. So now, if you create those things, sure, we'll watch them, and who knows, maybe they'll be bangers. Maybe they'll create a really really good match. But like, if it's not going to be for a title, then it's going to be for a story. And that's where you create this problem where you make everybody in your division chase a title, then you don't get the opportunity to build stories with them without them. So now it's harder to build up those characters without a title. That makes sense right now. I'm sure we'll get a
Yep.
couple of matches without, like, I'm sure we'll get a couple, I'm sure we'll get one or two women's matches that won't have a title involved in it. And but if you're going to do that, what's the story, and why should I care about it? Because
You need a big name though.
you haven't built up anybody else's stories up until this point, because they've all been chasing a title, they've all been chasing a belt. So then that means, like you said, because you got a one-on-one thing with Damage Control for that title, you're not going to put a multi-women match on that side. So you do that over here on this side so that you can at least have a couple of these women have importance in that thing. But if you're only going to have 6 women involved in WrestleMania, I don't believe that. I don't think that's the case, right? So you're probably going to have at least
Yikes.
two to four more that you need to put on the show, right? You can put them in a stupid battle royal match. I don't think that's the. What's the point of that other than just to give them some TV time? So you got to create stories, right? Should have done that weeks ago. Should have made us care about stories other than titles for some of these women. This is the men's. The men's is not. It's not such a big problem on the men's because you can do different things. But they have this big problem in the women's division with that, where they have all these women chasing the titles and don't give them anything other stories. So then when you get to WrestleMania and you can't have them all fight for a title, you can't have a 30-woman title match. How am I supposed to care about any of these other women that you have in there? So that's where I was saying that that's a problem that I didn't create. That's a problem that they created. So what is the solution to that? Maybe, like you said, maybe you throw in another title in there since you want people to be chasing titles and nothing else. Then maybe
That
that's
should be a mid card title
maybe
for the women as
maybe
well.
that's the solution. Otherwise, you got to get yourself out of this mode of every single woman only chases titles and doesn't have any stories. That's where you create this problem, because then what do you do with people that don't have a title? What do you do with Bianca Belair? What do you do with what do you do with all those people that are not going to be in title matches this year?
Naomi,
What
Raquel.
do you do with all of them? Because I don't care about them right now, because you haven't told me why I should care about them right now. We got 6 weeks. Maybe they changed my mind on
I
that.
gotta figure something out for Bianca at the very least.
If they do Bianca versus like a Tiffany, okay, well, give me a story within these next 6 weeks why I need to care about that. If they do her versus Cargill, give me a story of why I should care about that. Because you haven't done it yet, and we're already almost in March.
I keep hearing Cargill's not ring ready. That's what I keep hearing on different like rumors
I don't know if
that
she's
people
gonna,
are
I don't
saying
know.
she's not ring ready.
I don't know if she's gonna be a part of WrestleMania, but you get what I'm saying. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, it'd be a
Sure.
shame. It'd be a shame if you only had 6 women on 2 nights of WrestleMania. Am I wrong about thinking that way? I think it would be a shame if you only had 2 of these women on WrestleMania because you have nothing else for them to do. No, that's not right. But this is a problem that you created because you had all of them chasing titles, and that's the only thing that you're telling us we should care about when it comes to these women. Nah, man, you got to help us out a little bit. But we'll see how it goes in the next couple of weeks. But you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe a mid card title, since you want them to be chasing titles. Give them another title then.
Yeah, I can see this working out. Like you said, like it's tough, right? Because
it is. Because there's so many good ones.
you have somebody like Sasha Banks, right? Like if Sasha Banks comes back and she says, I want Bianca again because I lost to her last time and I want to get that revenge on her, right? And she attacks Bianca like backstage. I will watch that shit on WrestleMania.
Oh, of course,
because that shit is interesting, right? You got a grudge match from a couple years back where it was the best, what is it? It was the first African American match that broke the house, tore the house down. if Charlotte comes back, I'll watch her go after Becky Lynch. I'll watch her go after Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just it's difficult when you have some of these women that aren't established. Like they're interesting, but they're not tenured and established. For instance, if Rhea doesn't hold the belt, we will still tune in to watch Rhea versus anybody
Sure.
on the thing if she has a good story. But it doesn't work with some of these other women. And case in point, Becky Lynch not even be able to do a really compelling promo. Shit, man, like that's rough when she can't even do a really good promo with the champ. So they tried to do her and Nia, and it fizzled out. It feels like, right? I mean, it's kind of still there a little bit, but it went away pretty fast, right? When you think of like how fast it started, and then Becky got squashed, and then they just went away from that and pivoted over. So sure, it was still about the titles there, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think some of the women are big enough, and it's just because they don't have the same platform as the men, right? They just don't have the
That.
opportunity. You give
Mm-hmm.
Liv Morgan a title, even if it's an undercard, like the women's intercontinental, or for instance, you called out the women's continental title, right? And she holds that and defends it again and again and again, and keeps a hold of that title. She makes it prestigious, she makes it interesting, and she's also defined herself as a champion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now she's entered in that echelon of like people come to me now and we can build stories here. So when she loses the belt, she's still a champion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
No,
walking
yeah.
around as I'm a
At the,
champion. So
yeah, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is that you're onto something there when it comes to that. That's the problem with the women's division, right? Every single woman, you have all the women just chasing the titles. You don't do that with the men. Not every single guy is chasing titles. You split them up and you have individual stories sometimes for them to do other things. Why don't you do that with the women's? You could, but you choose not to. You choose to pull them into the women only chase titles. They don't have any other stories. Or the only one you had before that was Becky versus Nia. You called it out. That wasn't for a title, but they were getting there. But like I don't know. That's the tough part that you put.
Becky's big enough because she's a former champ. Bro.
True, that's right.
That's
But
so
they
how many
but
former champs are even walking that are women, right? That are like actual legitimate champs. You got Bianca, Becky, and maybe Asuka. And Asuka's part of the Kabuki Warriors, so she's in the tag
you
team
got
scene.
Asuka. I mean, you got more than a handful of them because Niall's a
You
former
got a lot
champion.
of
You have
legitimate champions. Like
uh,
bona fide champs.
well, I mean, that would be your Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, you know, Becky, Charlotte whenever she's around, um, and then that everybody else has won the title a couple of times here and there, but that's about it too. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what you created. You created that, and there's you've had opportunities to create stories for these people that aren't chasing titles, but that's not what you do with your women's division. So this is where you're at. So you're right. Maybe you do add another title if that's what you're going to do with your women. Add another title then because you're clearly not giving them individual stories. You can. There's a way you can do it where you can make a story matter more than a title, but you're not doing that with them. So it is what it
It's
is.
all means to an end, right? Because they did Sammy and Shinsuke, right, as a story. They did Cody and Shinsuke as a story, but it all culminates with now Sammy's on the title hunt, right? Like it's all gonna
Sure.
culminate now with something, right? So they kind of do like stories underneath. I mean, we have what is it, Karrion Cross going after the Almighty, right? So like we
Yeah.
have like these side stories that are underneath, and we have
Yeah.
Ivar versus Akira Tozawa,
On the men
but
on the men's side, it's not as difficult. On the men's side, it's fine. Like it's okay. On the women's side, it's a problem because then you get into this what we're talking about, trying to figure it out because you want a place for all these people, but you can't put everybody in a title match. But that's all you've ever told us about all these women. I mean, I'm sure most of these women are great storytellers. I'm sure you could give them a story and they could run with it. I mean, Chelsea Green is an example of that. I don't think Chelsea Green ever needs to win a title. I think she has a good enough
I do.
I think she has a good enough character, but you got to give her a story. And you got to put her in a good story with someone. I think she'll win one, but I don't think she needs to. There's always been those guys that never really needed to win a championship to have a good story. And there's been plenty of Hall of Famers in the past that never won titles that, or world championships or whatever, that had just good. They always were great storytellers. That were great people in the ring. And I mean, it's just how you portray them. What kind of stories you give them. If you give them big time things, and you're right, you use the people that you have established there to create those stories, right? You build up a Chelsea Green by giving her a story with like a Bianca Belair kind of thing. Bianca Belair doesn't have a title. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just giving you an example. You use those people as stepping stones, right, to build up those kinds of people. But I don't know. It's just what they. I'm just telling you what they don't do. I'm just telling you what they don't do and why the women's division kind of gets stuck in this weird rut sometimes where if you're not chasing a title, you're not important. I mean, feel free to tell me I'm wrong, but I'm pretty strong in that opinion that that's how they portray it. If you're not chasing a title, you're not important. Case in point, nobody cared about Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark versus Indy Hartwell and
Well, that's the tag team scene. That's the tag team scene.
no,
We're not even gonna go there, right?
no,
When Natalia's still part of that tag team scene, we're not gonna talk about that shit.
Fuck no.
I would say, look, I would say, like, I
That's,
do care about some of the singles matches a lot more than the tag team division, just because like they're
of course.
hodgepodge teams, a lot of them in the women's side, and it's usually, there's a lot of developmental talent there. But I will say, like, what you're saying makes sense. They do it, but they do it on like live shows or they do it in the Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. What we're talking about is a WrestleMania sort of match where you can't even do that. What you're talking about, you can't do that unless it's big names. Like, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do, for instance, Chelsea Green versus Bianca Belair for just the hell of it at WrestleMania. I just don't see it happening. The titles all take precedence.
If you told
it would have to be one hell of a fucking good story, but it's kind of hard to do that, right? Like I think you have to do like sort of legends, right? It has to be sort of those big names because they have to be big names to begin with, right? You can't put those types of matches. They put them on Raw and SmackDown and live shows. They won't put it on a PLE like that. Just because next to like Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, it's gonna be very noticeable that it's a different quality of match. And so I swear to you, they have done sometimes like this, and we always give those matches like the lowest grades. It's like, oh, that was a C, that was a C, because they only gave them 10 minutes to do the whole damn match, and it sucked. So they just don't give them the same amount of time either.
No,
so
you're not wrong about that.
Yeah, it's just I think that you do it, but if you're gonna do it at WrestleMania, you got to be a big name. Otherwise, you ain't getting that. You ain't getting a spot, man. Like, it's just not gonna happen. They'll give it to you on Monday Night Raw. I do think that they do it on Monday Night Raw. But eventually it ends up always being about the titles. And I think that's like everywhere.
Or it's something that you've been building up for a while, and it culminates at WrestleMania. And like I said at the beginning of all this, you can't do that now because it would be really hard to do because you're already 6 weeks away from the show. So now you have to make everything seem important. Now you can't do anything like that because that's something, if you wanted to, you should have established it 2 months ago to make it build and build and build and build, and then you culminates at WrestleMania, that kind of thing. That's how
you're talking about like Bailey Io, where it was like a long story.
I mean, that ended up.
Bailey Io was a long time coming.
I mean, that ended up being for a title, but in other words, something like that, right? Now, imagine if that wasn't for a title, would you still care about Bailey versus Io?
No.
I think I still would because that's been a storyline that they've been talking about.
I don't care about it because what I care about is Bailey winning her title at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, of course I care about.
That's why I care about it so much.
I care about that too, but I would say that if it wasn't for the title, I would still be very interested in it because this is something they've been doing for months. You've been giving me a reason to tune in and see what's going on with this. You're building up this rivalry or whatever, and it's going to culminate at WrestleMania. It's for the title, which is right. This is the right thing to do. Well, that's basically what I'm saying, guys. Is that's like now, whatever you decide to do between now and WrestleMania, yeah, you're right. Because of the way that they portrayed everything, you can't do anything like that now because it ain't gonna matter. But that's a problem. That hopefully in the future, with the expansion of the roster and how many of these women are just really, really good, I think a lot of these women deserve good stories, regardless of whether or not it's for a title or not. Can you agree with that?
Mhm.
Yep.
Uh huh. All right. So that was good. I enjoyed that. That was good. You got anything, Mr. Zero? You're just kind of chilling over there, man. You're shaking your head, looking good. Looking tired, looking sleepy.
You're not gonna give no.
No insight.
See, this
No
is the
nothing.
problem, Mr.
Nothing.
Zero. This is the problem, Mr. Zero. You're not giving no thoughts to the women's division.
Oh man, we got Mr. Sexist over here.
He's like, I'm not a. He's like, I don't care. I don't care.
Idiot.
Let's
We're
talk about the
fucking
men.
fucking stupid asses.
Let's go back to the
Let's
men.
talk
Let's
about
talk
the
about
men.
the men. That's what this show's about.
This is a waste of my time.
Fucking guys are dumb.
Mr.
Hey,
Mr. Zero with
what?
his thingy here. But anyways,
Where are we at in
guys,
this
that's
live
good.
stream? We got a good amount of time.
No, we got a good amount of time. I think we made a lot of good conversation, so I think it's a good place to stop here. But yeah, we're on the road to WrestleMania, guys. We're 42 days away. We'll see how things go. I mean, geez, let's go Drew McIntyre. Let's go Cody. Let's go all that bullshit. So let us know what y'all guys think in the comments about everything. How did you like Elimination Chamber? How do you think the direction? Are you liking the direction of WrestleMania? Let us know in the comments. Remember, guys, to like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already.
If you want, if you don't, it's cool too. We don't care.
No. Subscribe. We want you to subscribe. That's how this thing grows. It doesn't grow if you don't click that subscribe button.
Do it if you want.
And click.
Punch
Watch
in your
our long
dreams.
form.
And look, guys, if you're clicking on the like button and you're clicking on the subscribe button, you may as well click on the damn bell icon too. That's important because you get to get the message as soon as we go live for these bullshits. You'll get the message saying, "Come on and join us and talk wrestling with us, guys. Come on, man." It's one extra click. But for the ones that have already
Guys,
done that, thank y'all
Way
so
to
very
sell our
much.
products. Way to sell our
Guys,
product, jackass.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, man. We are the best podcast, absolutely the best wrestling podcast
There we
on
go.
YouTube today. So do yourself a
That's how
favor.
you sell.
You do
That's
yourself
how
a
you
favor if
sell.
you want to. If you start subscribing now, you'll be one of the first people to do it when we blow up real big. If not, it's your loss. It's not ours.
Exactly. And you know how much it costs to subscribe?
Just
It's better than welfare. 0.
so you know. Woo!
We don't cost nothing. It's free. Click on the damn button.
Shut the hell up, Johnny T.
Your
Shut the
life
hell
is
up.
better with us in it. I guarantee
That is
it.
guaranteed. I'm not even going to listen to anything Mr. Zero says. But thank y'all guys for joining us on tonight's live stream. We'll be back here soon.
You don't
with
need to
another
listen
one
to
of
me.
these.
You're gonna hear me.
And-
You're gonna hear me. This is the Springboard Plancha podcast, and we're fucking going out. Peace.
Peace.